Fanfic Corner, presented by Animal Girl. Two Worlds, Chapter 1, written and read by Animal Girl. The forest was dark and quiet. Not all that surprising since it was night. Because it had gotten too dark to see, Callum and Rayla had decided to stop for the night and get some sleep. Now came the hard part, getting Zym to settle down for the night. "Okay, Zym," Rayla said, "it's bedtime." But the baby dragon didn't seem to have heard her. Instead, he kept running around the small clearing. "I mean it, it's bedtime." The little dragon continued to run around until he ran into Callum, who had gone to get some firewood. "Okay, Zym," Callum said, "time to settle down for the night." Zym followed him back to where the three of them were going to be sleeping and curled right up, promptly going to sleep. "You're so much better with him than I am," Rayla said. "Well, I am a big brother," Callum answered. He looked back in the direction of Katalis. "I hope Ezran's all right," he said. "He's fine, I'm sure of it," Rayla said. "We should probably get some sleep too. We still have a long journey ahead of us." That night, both Rayla and Callum had strange dreams. They were in strange places that didn't look anything like what was described on any of the maps they have seen. Large metal things flew through the air, and creatures neither one of them had ever seen or heard about before were using unusual weapons. However, they weren't the only ones having strange dreams. The ghost crew was busy getting ready for bed. It was always a crazy time with 3 humans, 2 of them teenagers, a clone, a Lasat, a Taruga, and a Twi'lek all on board trying to get settled for the night at the same time. And it was always the same routine. Sabine and Ezran were fighting over who got to use the shower first. Zeb was trying to go to sleep despite the fact that Chopper was doing his best to keep him awake. Hera and Kanan were making sure that everyone had everything they needed, and Ahsoka and Rex were just staying out of the way. Once everyone's nightly routine was done, it was time for bed. Ahsoka was sharing Sabine's cabin, and the two often stayed up late talking. Ezra still shared a cabin with Zeb, and Chopper had recently started powering down in their room, so Ezra had to be twice as careful when he stayed up late reading. Kanan had moved into Hera's cabin with her following their marriage after Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka came back from their mission to what they had learned was a Sith temple, and Rex had moved into Kanan's old cabin. That night, everyone on board the Ghost, including Chopper, had very strange dreams. They all consisted of reptilian-like creatures the size of rancors, human-like beings with facial markings, pointed ears, and 4 fingers on each hand, and humans. There was no technology that they were familiar with. No speeders, no blasters, no communicators, no droids, no starships, no lightsabers, no holograms. It was a world far more alien to them than any other world they had been to. The next morning, "It was really strange," Ezra said as he and Sabine walked the perimeter of Chopper Base, something they did every morning. "I'd say it was a vision, but it was so vivid, but it didn't feel like the other visions I had." "Ezra, I had the same dream," Sabine said. "What do you think it means?" Ezra asked. "Could it be a coincidence?" Sabine asked. "Kanan and Ahsoka say there's no such thing as coincidences," Ezra said. "It's all the will of the Force." The two continued walking, subconsciously heading towards their secret base, a place where they would go to hang out and just be regular teenagers, forgetting for a short time about the war against the Empire. It was well within the fences, so they didn't have to worry about the spider creatures, but far enough away from the base that they had some privacy. Suddenly, a strange creature ran up to them. It looked like one of the reptilian creatures from their dream, only much smaller, and much cuter. Where'd you come from, little guy? Ezra asked, picking up the strange little creature, which promptly began licking his face. What is it with you and critters? Sabine asked. What can I say? Animals like me, Ezra said. One of the spider creatures walked by. Well, most animals. Sabine held a hand out to the little creature, and it began licking her too. He's so cute, she said. Do you think Kanan and Hera will let us keep him? I don't know, Ezra said. They're busy meeting with the other commanders today. We can ask them later at dinner. We've been keeping up with our responsibilities, so I'm sure they'll say yes. Callum, wake up, Rayla said. I had the strangest dream last night, Callum said as he sat up and rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. Callum, Zym's gone, Rayla said. We have to find him. The two friends began searching their camp and soon found baby dragon tracks. Following them, they entered a cave. Primitive paintings covered the walls, depicting people and creatures they had never seen before. One suddenly began to move, and a glowing portal opened. Do you think Zym would have gone through there? Callum asked. He's a curious little thing. So he probably did, Rayla said. And we're going to have to go through if we're going to have any hope of finding him. The two friends entered the portal and soon found themselves in a strange place. There were no trees, just rocks and barren land. Something moved behind them, and a white, multi-legged creature attacked them. Suddenly there was a flash of blue light, and the creature backed off. A man stood next to them. Judging by the strange sword in his hands, the blade looked like it was made out of pure light. They guessed he was a warrior, even though he wasn't dressed like any warrior they had ever seen before. It won't stay back for long, he said. Back behind the boundary. The three of them quickly made their way past a set of strange markers. The creature didn't follow them. We're safe now, the man said. The creatures don't like the sensors. Rayla and Callum had no idea what a sensor was. But if those creatures didn't like them, they had to be a good thing. Now, the man said, just what were you two doing out there? We're looking for a friend, Rayla said. Have you seen him? He looks like this, Callum said. He handed a page from his sketchbook to the man who looked at it. We need to talk to the others, he said. Okay, so basically, in case it wasn't clear, this story takes place after Season 2 of both Star Wars Rebels and The Dragon Prince. This is due mainly to the fact that I did not want to confuse Ezra and Ezrin, since their names sound very, very similar. A couple of things I do want to point out, though. First off, obviously Ahsoka did not stay behind in the Sith Temple, but escaped with Ezra and Kanan. And secondly, Kanan was not blind by Maul in this story, so he still has his ability to see and whatnot. So just, slight changes. I'm probably going to make some slight changes to the Dragon Prince too as the story continues on. So that's all I got. Okay, now before I sign off, a couple of things I do want to touch on as well. First off, if you'd like to read this story in its fullest as I get the chapters up, of course, or any of my other fanfics or short stories that I will be doing readings on for Fanfic Corner, you can feel free to go to our check out my Wattpad page. I will have the link in the description section. Also, if you are a fanfic writer and you have a fanfic I would like to read, or you know someone who has a fanfic that they would like me to read, you can feel free to send me a copy of it, either to my Tumblr account or my Facebook page. I will have the link for both of them in the description section. A couple of things I'd like to touch on first regarding that. First off, please be sure to include your name or the name of the author of the fanfic. Okay, no author name, no reading. I have to be able to credit the author. Second, if it's long, I will divide it up between videos like I do with my fanfics. Unfortunately, my camcorder only records up to 33 minutes. Thirdly, please try to keep it clean. I will clean up or gloss over words and or parts I deem inappropriate for children, since kids may be watching these videos. If there's too many, though, too many inappropriate words or parts, I just won't do a reading on that section at all. I'll just skip completely over it. Or just if it's just like a short one-time fanfic, I just won't do a reading of it. Again, this is just because kids may be watching these videos. I don't want them hearing anything inappropriate in the fanfics. Lastly, please be honest. If I learn that a fanfic was written by someone else and submitted without his or her approval, I will not only remove that video and any videos that correspond with it from YouTube myself, but I will also no longer accept fanfics from the person who sent it in.